With games happening simultaneously, match day 3 was probably the most exciting game week of the Euro 2020 group stage, especially given the fact that, this round determined who qualified for the knockout stage. So, guys, welcome to the Fall 6 review of match day 3. Today on the panel, we got Aaron, Ishan, and Gyan, and I'm your host, Akarsh. So, let's head right into it. Group A saw Italy face off against Wales. Italy won 1-0. They played their second tier team, but still looked comfortable for most of the game. So, again, what are your views on this Italian performance, even though they played their second tier team?
So the Italians have been really strong since the start of this tournament. And Welsh, the Wales team are a pretty strong side as well. I like that Mancini played his second team to give a rest to the first team, also to get all the players involved to make them feel like they're contributing. Their Italian second team is as strong as the first team. I would say they won. They won against Wales with a solitary one goal lead, but they could have scored many more. It was a great match, but I think Italy deserved to win.
Fair enough. I think it's a very wise move to actually give your first team a rest before heading into the knockout stage. The second game of the group saw Switzerland face off against Turkey. Switzerland needed the win to qualify for the knockout stage, which they did. They won 3-1 against a very lackluster Turkish side. You know, we came into this competition expecting so much from Turkey, but they've just not delivered on the biggest stage. And, that's something that you really need to get with experience of performing more on such a big platform. But let's hope that Turkey develops more as a team in the coming years, and we get to see the best of them in some more tournaments. Moving on to Group B, the first game was a belter. We had Russia facing off against Denmark. Denmark won the game 4-1. Denmark really needed this to qualify for the knockout stages, and they delivered to all the tension and hype that was surrounding them. So, Ishan, what was your thought? What are your thoughts on such a wonderful game that we saw?
I think the Denmark turned it up at the right time. All of their players clicking, Damsgaard, Christensen, Poulsen. I think they were a really good team, and I think the audience really helped them. The fans at the stadium at Copenhagen, and it was just a vibe the entire game. And Denmark were great from the start. Good football, great goals, and yeah, even credit to Zuba to become the top scorer for Russia now with the penalty. But I think yeah, it was a great game, and I think Denmark turned it up at the pressure point, and they deserve to qualify second.
I think after the whole Christian Eriksen scene, we really wanted to see Denmark do well in this tournament, and I'm really happy that they have actually qualified. The second game saw Finland face off against Belgium. Belgium won the game 2-0 easily, although it was difficult for Belgium to break down the Finland defense for a huge part of the game. But then, the goals started flowing, and Belgium, they dominated the game as they have dominated the entire group. And I think going forward, they're going to be a real danger for any of the upcoming stages for any team, because they've shown that they're solid at the back. They've shown the clinical going forward. So they're a threat to come up against. So now moving on to Group C, the first game was Ukraine against Austria. Both teams required wins to better their chances of qualifying for the knockout stage. But Ukraine just didn't show up on the day. I mean, I saw them in the first two games, and they did seem impressive. They did seem that they could string passes together. But even though they had possession in this game, it just didn't. They just weren't clinical. They weren't creating enough. So although Ukraine have qualified, Shevchenko will really need to change something in the knockout stage, because you can't have such a boring performance in the knockout stages. So I'm really hoping that Ukraine can turn up for their knockout stage games. The second game was Macedonia facing off against Netherlands. Netherlands won 3-0. Gorav Pandev, it was his last game, a true legend for the country. But Netherlands dominated as always. They eased their way through this group, and it was just another dominant performance on the night. So, Aaron, what were your views on Netherlands' performance?
I wouldn't say it was a dominant performance because though they won 3-0, I think the possession was quite fairly shared between them. And even if you go to see the shots on target and the shots, Macedonia had a fair amount of shots. So Pandev up front played really well. Of course, it was his last game. It was a good send off, but I don't think the scoreline matched the game.
I think we've seen that a lot in this tournament where the scoreline just doesn't justify how the game was played. But that's how these tournaments work out, and that's the beauty of the Euro 2020. Moving on to Group D, first game was again extremely exciting. It was Croatia against Scotland. Again, both were on 1 point before the week started, and they needed the 3 points to qualify. And it was clear that the experience that the Croatians had that showed. They turned up when it was required, and Modric put in an absolute masterclass. So, Gan, what were your views on Croatia's performance and especially Modric's performance?
So Croatia, I mean, I don't think they've been in the best of form. I mean, coming to this tournament and during this tournament. But their main men definitely turned up for the game against Scotland with Modric and Perisic putting absolute masterclasses on display. Definitely, they have more quality than Scotland, and I mean, it was nice to see Scotland take part in a tournament or major tournament after 20 years. But they definitely have some work to do if they want to reach out in the knockout stages. I think Croatia definitely can go far, as we've seen in the 2018 World Cup, and I'm sure we'll see more of them after this performance.
Definitely. I think even I expected a bit more from Scotland, considering they've got really good talents playing in the Premier League and the Scottish Premiership. But again, it's just a bit more experience required there in the team of playing at the biggest stage. The second game was Czech Republic versus England. The Czechs, again, they gave a good account of themselves in this game, but came up short against a resolute English defense. And England, although they have been underwhelming, they've done the job. They've qualified, and that's all that's needed in a tournament like this. So even though there's questions about how good they'll be against probably the best of the teams, they're doing their job till now. So as I said, in a tournament like this, the scorelines don't matter. It's all about getting those points and keep on qualifying. And I think England have done that till now, and I think they're in with a chance this year. Moving on to Group E, we saw another really exciting game, which was Sweden against Poland. Poland had everything to play for because they really required points to qualify. Sadly, that just couldn't happen on the day. They lost 3-2 to Sweden, but it was just, I mean, five. If a game has 5 goals, it's got to be exciting. So, Ishan, views on the game.
So yeah, I mean, I think a big factor to play was that Poland needed the 3 points to qualify because they had only one and you need four. And I think that played out really well for Sweden and their style of play because they knew Poland is going to come on the attack and try to get through, and that is exactly where they excel. And again, the clinicality of Forsberg, and again that day we saw Kulusevski start, and he was not start play, but he was phenomenal. And I think you really see that Swedish side, and it is really really dangerous. I think they found that clinical player Zlatan was. I mean, not exactly Zlatan, but Forsberg is doing a great job with his clinicality, and I think Sweden can really rely on him as of now. For Poland, though, really upsetting Lewandowski. He's out of the tournament, but I think it was a great game from them as well, and I think it'll be okay to lose if they lose in that style.
Makes sense. I think the whole the tactic that Sweden is using of sitting back and playing on the counter, being really clinical on the counter, that's working out for them wonderfully in this tournament. The second game was Slovakia against Spain. Spain proved all of us wrong. All of us were doubting how bad they've been in front of goal. I mean, they responded to us with a bang with a 5-0 win over Slovakia, qualifying for the knockout series comfortably. And I don't know, it was just a proper clinic that Spain put on. They obviously did well with their possession, but they turned up and actually they were clinical too. So I think that was my expectation from them coming into this tournament. And I think it has taken them the first two games to actually prove that how good they actually are. So I think there's a lot more to expect from them in the knockout stages. Moving on to the final group, the group of death. Every match game, every discussion that we've had, I mean, it's just been so exciting because this group has really delivered to all the hype that surrounded it before the tournament. And, we probably thought Hungary would be the pushovers, but that's just not happened. Even Hungary have competed so well. And I don't know, I've always looked forward to watching Group F games. So the first game saw Portugal against France. It was a 2-all draw. Ronaldo again coming with two penalties scoring. Benzema finally scoring two. Aaron, did it deliver to your expectations this game?
It started off quite well, but I think after the teams got 2 goals in and after they got the news about the Hungary and Germany game, both of them just sat back, knew they were qualified, so didn't really take any extra chances. However, I feel like out of the three penalties, two penalties can be controversial if it should have been given or no. It was great to see Benzema after 5 years on the goal on the scoring sheet again. I feel like Portugal have a problem now at right back since Nelson Semedo I feel like is injured. So I don't know if Diago Dalot has the experience to really make his mark there. But yeah, good to see both the teams qualify. I don't know if it delivered the hype surrounding this game though.
Yeah, I think certainly if you're for Portugal, if your second choice right back is not available for the knockout stages, that's certainly very concerning. And also the fact that even the Kingsley Coman penalty in the dying minutes of the game, I think even that was a bit controversial for me, but it wasn't given fair enough. The final game was Germany against Hungary. Now, this game, I don't know, it was really exciting because Germany went down twice. And, all of us had our hearts in our mouths where we really wanted Hungary to pull off an upset and, actually have them qualify. It would have been probably the biggest upset that we've ever seen in a tournament. But that sadly didn't happen because, Germany, again, with their winning mentality, they just turned up on the day. You had Goretzka come in and, score the equalizer, which is all that they needed, given that they had a good dominating performance against Portugal. But that's just how such tournaments work. And I feel really bad for Hungary, but I also see a lot of potential for them to do well in a lot of tournaments to come. So let's hope we see more of Hungarian football in the coming few years. So guys, that's it for our review. Just one thing before we leave, two things actually. Number one, what was your most exciting game of this match week? Gyan, could you go first?
I think I would say Germany and Hungary. I really thought that that game was a roller coaster of a game. I mean, with Hungary scoring straight from kickoff and Goretzka equalizing in the 88th minute, it was just, I mean, it was a really good game with quality on display.
Certainly, Ishan.
I'd agree with him.
Oh, okay then. Ishan, what about you?
I'll say that the underdog game of Sweden Poland really stepped up quality and was really thrilling to watch it. So I think that's the game for me.
I mean, I want to agree with you, but I think we've got to give it to Germany, Hungary, just because it was in the group of death, and there was a lot of hype around it too. So I think Germany, Hungary, that's our match of the week. So guys, next thing, who was your player of the match week? Gyan, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I would say Luka Modric. He definitely steered Croatia to victory, being the midfield general and scoring a brilliant Trivela goal. So I would go Luka Modric.
Fair enough. Ishan?
I'll also add to what Gyan is saying, and I think Modric was a great player. He scored a great goal and an amazing assist. He just stepped it up for this game, and I think it's Modric all the way.
Do you want to disagree?
I know I would because I think Rui Patricio has been phenomenal for Portugal at the back. That amazing save right at the end versus France. I feel like that really helped them qualify for the round of 16. And I think Portugal's defense has been a little shaky this time. So Rui Patricio really has stepped up for them at the back. So I feel he's my player of the match day 3.
I think that's a fair shout, but I'm also on the fence about this. And considering we've got Gyan and Sean already going for Modric, I think we've got to give it to Luka Modric. Luka Modric, you're our player of the match week. Guys, I think that wraps it up from our end. Thank you so much for joining in. So until next time, goodbye and keep watching our content.